So we have a special promotion going on here in February. This is our diesel tablet. This was just launched last year. This is our mid-range diagnostic tool. It will do thousands of the most common diagnostic commands. So if you're working on your EGR system, you're trying to change engine parameters, you're trying to work on your SCR system, this will do the resets, the calibrations, the installs, all the things. You can one tap to repair information to get instant repair information for all your fault codes. It's a great, great tool to put inside your shop, and it's priced very, very aggressively for the price point. And in February, we have a special promotion going on. So if you buy this tool in February, and there's a limited amount, you will get 5 free online training courses. So these online training courses are not about the tool. These courses are about how to do electrical, how to troubleshoot after-treatment systems, how to do all this advanced stuff that you need to know for today's commercial truck. So it's a $500 value, comes absolutely free with the product for the month of February. Check it out, 30-day money-back guarantee. We know you're going to love it. We sold a ton of these things already.
Hey guys, welcome to Overhauled with the Diesel Queen. I am here today with Andy, who is a fleet manager. Andy, would you like to introduce yourself?
What's going on? My name's Andy. I'm from New Jersey, and I currently work for a produce company here, and I take care of a fleet of over 35 trucks and try to do everything myself.
Yeah, so kind of give us a little bit. Part of what I do with this podcast is I'm trying to dig into how people get into this industry. Because for me, it's, people look at me like, oh my God, how did you get into the industry? And it's like, actually, if you look at my background, it makes a lot of fucking sense. So I try and dig into people's background, how they grew up, any kind of information like that, how you got into the industry, what made you decide to want to be in the industry. So if you want to kind of dig into your background a little bit as to how you got into this industry and why you chose this industry, that would be great.
Sounds good. I mean, when at a young age of 10, I started working for a race team here in New Jersey. We were based out of Waldwick, New Jersey, and we raced all over the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Raced Northeast Dirt, big block modifieds, and we run a bunch of races. And I did that for about 12 years, and then started working on stuff full time and more or less than what a hobby. Took a hobby and made it a career. So I started working at a car repair shop locally, and then moved on from there, started working at a truck shop in town that I'm from, and unfortunately that got shut down, and now I'm here.
So I'm gonna swing back to the race car comment. You said modified, so is that dragster modified stock or
circle track?
Okay.
Yeah. Raced on dirt. They have a big block Chevy engine. Some have a small block Chevy engine.
That's where I was trying to make that connection, because I'm like, I thought they used heavies. I was on the drag racing mode, so that's why I was just trying to clarify that.
That's no one really went with Dodge. Isn't really prominent in our area. All the circle track engines really come from GM. So in the drag racing world, the Hemi's a different story, but not for going in circles.
That I love all kinds of racing. I do have a soft spot for circle track, and I have a soft spot for drag racing. So when you said race cars, I'm like, all right, we need to dive into that a little bit, because I will never miss an opportunity to talk about race cars. So yeah, I will sit here and blabble on for hours about drag racing. I have never missed, with the exception of this last year, with all my moving, I have never missed the nationals. I lived in Wyoming, so I went to the Mile High Nationals for the drag racing strips, and then we went to the motocross nationals there. So I don't miss that ever for the world, except for this year. So that was a sad day. Yeah, well, Indianapolis apparently has a drag strip, so that's going to happen next year, hopefully. But so you said that you kind of started working at a car dealership, and then you moved in. What made you move from automotive to diesel?
Well, when I started, it wasn't a dealership. It was at a local small shop, so it was just me and another guy there. And unfortunately, the money, in my opinion, just wasn't there for working on cars. So my dad's been a diesel mechanic for his whole life, working on concrete trucks, and we always had food on the table and was always able to get whatever we needed to get. So I went to the whole truck side, and I realized that, wow, I can go make $10 an hour more doing the same stuff, just working on a little bit heavier things. So I moved on to trucks. I've been here ever since.
So I take it, regardless of the money, heavy duty you like it better than automotive?
Get more of more satisfaction out of the deal. You know, you go home and you feel it more. You know, you just weren't walking around all day. And I don't know. I like it.
I never started on automotive. I went right into diesel, but I have obviously my own shit that I've worked on, and I don't know if it's because it's just my own shit and it's maddening and nothing ever works right when you're trying to work on your own shit, or if it's just the automotive in general, but I much prefer heavy duty than automotive. And that's
got more room to work. Room to work. That's the big thing. Some of these places, some of these cars have shit all bound up and use a whole bunch of swivels,
plastic shit everywhere.
Can't get anywhere. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My boyfriend has a 2015 Challenger that I've done a little work on. Well, we've done a little work on, and it's just stupid shit because he actually takes care of his stuff, so he doesn't really need that much work. But the fucking plastic shit under like the bumper and underneath the front of that fucking car, oh my god, fucking annoying. Fucking hate that shit.
Pull that off just to get to the drain plug.
I have not had to change his oil yet because it's still under warranty and he has like a maintenance plan on it. But I've done like wheel speed sensors and like he hit a raccoon. So I had to like redneck, I'm going to use the term redneck, up the bumper, like plastic shit under there. I had to kind of redneck that up so it didn't drag. We're going to be putting a wide body kit on it. So that's going to all get fixed eventually. But back to how, if you're a mechanic, you fix everybody else's shit and not your shit.
Yeah, I'm looking at in my parking lot right now. I'm looking at my car over there that I haven't fixed in like a year and a half. So it just made me realize, like, shit, I got to do that.
Yeah, that's the story of my life. I have 5 trucks, and 2 of them run, one of which my father has, and the other one is that silver dually I have. Everything else doesn't run. And, like, major problems doesn't run. My maroon truck that I had for so long lost a wrist pin in cylinder 6. Long story short, kids don't buy eBay rebuild kits. I don't care if it says mall pistons. I don't care if it says mall pistons. I don't care what it says. If it does not have Cummins stamped on the fucking parts, don't fucking buy it. Every seal in that motherfucker leaked. Every single one of them. I've had to replace every single seal I put on that engine. I rebuilt that engine like 80,000 miles ago. I had to put new seals in everything. And you replace it with an OEM seal, and it's fine. It's good. It's like, the fuck, guys. And then I learned, actually 2 weeks before I was supposed to move to Indiana, my wrist pin, I started hearing like a knock. And at first it was a little quiet, so I wasn't quite sure. It almost sounded a little top-endy. It definitely wasn't rod bearings. I knew that. It definitely wasn't like a main or a rod bearing. And it was a little bit of a knock, and I thought it was a fuel knock. Well, I knew better, but I was praying in my heart it was just a fuel knock. And I did like the temp test on the exhaust manifolds, and I found one cylinder that is actually number 3 that was not warming up the same as the rest. And I've had tons of issues with the aftermarket fuel injectors I put in that truck when I rebuilt it. So I'm like, well, it's probably the fucking body again, and I'm going to have to fucking fix that. So I went through and did all that and fixed that one fuel injector, and it still fucking knocked. And I knew better when I pulled that valve cover off and there were little tiny sparkles in the oil on the fucking top of the rockers. I knew I was in trouble, but I was still praying that I was wrong because, well, I'm retarded. But long story short, I lost a wrist pin in cylinder 6, and I rednecked that engine up high enough to get the oil pan off, and looked up in there, and cylinder 6 is scored to fuck. And if you take that piston, you put it all the way down towards the bottom, you can sit there and pry it in the cylinder wall with the pry bar. And I'm like, at first I'm like, well, I know this is not normal, but I'm just going to double check for my sanity. And I went and pried on number 1 because they're both down at the same time, and tight as shit. The other one's like Colfax hooker loose. So I'm like, that's fucked. So
that's funny you mentioned you had to have the engine all jacked up. I was doing an oil pan on on a 6.7 Cummins once, and I had a forklift holding the engine up. It was like a Friday at 4:30 or something, and I get up from underneath it to go to the other side, and I nail my forehead on the fucking forks. Oh my god, I bled. Oh, it was like opening a can. So bad.
Been there. I've done a lot of backhoe transmissions for John Deere. And when you do backhoe transmissions for John Deere, you raise it. It looks really fucking stupid, but you raise it all the way up in the air, as high as the outriggers will put you, sometimes higher. Sometimes you have to use a boom on the backhoe to push it higher. And then as high as you gotta like tip the bucket up and push down. So you pick this motherfucker up to where you can almost walk underneath it. I can't tell you how many times I've come out underneath one of them backhoes trying to do a transmission, and I nailed the fucking middle of my back on the fucking fuel tank corner. It never fucking fails, or the steps. So, yeah, mechanics we've lost a couple brain cells, right? For reasons.
Brake clean, inhalation, minor concussions, I guess.
So, yeah, I've got my maroon truck that is fucked and needs another engine. It's actually sitting in my shop, and I bought another truck to move out here. That's where the silver dually came from. Bought that, hauled that piece of shit and all my toolboxes out here, my dirt bikes. And that maroon truck has sat ever since. And now it's become the horrible, horrible habit of all mechanics, as it's not a parts truck and that's not what it's there for, but I've been robbing parts off of it because, well, it's there and it's convenient. So that's fun. I also have a 3rd gen that's in paint that's actually still in Wyoming, and the engine's here, so that's also cool. My dad had that, and he dropped the valve, and the head is junked, so that's cool. But I got sidetracked by my project cars. I could sit here and talk about my fucking problems with my project trucks all day, because, yeah. That's the part of, I guess, owning 20-year-old trucks. So, but at least I own my trucks, so I guess there's that. So, the fleet that you run right now, is that a particular brand of vehicle?
We have all Freightliners, and then
oh, I'm sorry.
We have, yeah, I know, but it's easy to get parts for, easy to work on, so it's nice. But then we also have a few Peterbilt. We have a couple 389s that go from Florida all the way up to Boston twice a week. So always chasing the East Coast running those, and hopefully they're all brand new, so really no problems with breakdowns yet. So
coming from a mechanic that has been privileged, if you would like to call it, growing up in dealerships, what is some of the challenges that you face running a fleet, obviously that is not a dealership backing?
Luckily, there's enough information out there that you can get by without having dealer backing. And yeah, I mean, I can go, the parts place is right down the road, so luckily I don't need to travel too far for that.
Did you guys have a bunch of issues with parts over the last couple of years?
Over the last couple of years, we have, yeah, definitely more so with the reefer unit side. So I also take care of all the reefers that our trucks have.
So you're not just a fleet of trucks. You got guys got trailers you're taking care of too.
Yeah, trailers and box trucks that have reefer units on it as well.
Okay. I was curious about the parts situation because we ran into, especially during COVID, there was like, we couldn't get goddamn fuel filters to save our, like,
fuel filters. I couldn't get belts. Like the simplest of things were unavailable, and that kind of put me in a hard place because unfortunately, without the reefer unit running, the truck's no good either. So
Yep.
I have trailers sitting waiting for parts, and I have trucks sitting waiting for parts, and they're both good trucks and good trailers, but they just have no reefer unit. You know?
Yep. So did your like family own this race car business or was involved in this race car business when you were younger?
It wasn't my family, kind of. They grew into become my second family, but my dad worked with him for a little while back in the early 90s, and then I went one Saturday, and the driver Tom, he asked me if I wanted to help him wash the car the next morning, and I was 10, so it was ecstatic to be able to go power wash a dirty race car. And it was kind of history ever since. I was there. We worked every Tuesday and Thursday night, and then we raced Saturday, and then we washed on Sunday. And then a couple of years later, we started racing 2 nights a week. So it was kind of every night after school, I'm going to the shop and we're building race cars. So it ended up being a lot of work and almost just like a full-time job. But it was all volunteer, I guess you could say. It was all for fun.
Well, I mean, when you're a kid and it's a race car, it's like, freely. I would probably help right now for free on a race team if I could. But
it's such a great environment, you know, you can really bring anyone there and you don't need to worry about, I don't know, everyone's just super nice no matter who it is, you know, like everyone has the right mindset. Everyone's happy. Everyone's there to have fun.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a little bit different than the NHRA, like pro drags series. Those guys are all like super serious all the time.
Yeah. But the hospitality side of that, like you can go sit, like if you choose to sponsor a car, they'll sit you right next to their pit area and you can go watch the guys work and tear down engines from a block to a full running complete engine in a half an hour.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about going to those races.
I remember the first year that I went to the NHRA Mile High Nationals. There's like a guy that in between the races, I don't remember which sets he was in between, but there was a guy that like stood up in the pits and he was talking about dragsters in specific, but funny cars, dragsters, the top fuel side of it. And he said something that was very interesting. And as a mechanic, this really piqued my interest is that part of the reason they don't bolt the heads down until like 5 minutes before they're supposed to race is because the thickness of the head gasket changes. They put different thicknesses of head gaskets in there, depending on they've got like 8,000, like an 8,000 thing list of what they use to calculate the head gasket thickness. But I found that really fucking interesting.
Yeah, because that could be the either you're going down the track that you're going to be lit up the whole way, or you're going to be blowing up halfway down and ended up losing the race. So. Yeah, that stuff's great. I have a lot of appreciation for the tuners and stuff that that put the time and effort into that.
Well, and the Mile High Nationals is like a big deal because obviously out of the name, it's Denver, Colorado, so it's a mile high, and I believe that's one of the highest elevation racetracks they have. So that's kind of cool. But when you went to high school and you were in high school, did they have any kind of like welding classes or automotive classes that you took? Nothing?
No, I had absolutely nothing. Not even like, I couldn't even go to like home ec and like learn how to cook. Like I didn't have anything.
Seriously?
So it was, I had nothing. I graduated with 84 kids. School probably only had like 500 kids in it. Yeah, we didn't have anything like that. Not even a wood shop. Sucked.
Damn. Well, that's like that actually is a good point. Because part of what I tell people all the time or what I relay in this podcast is like, I was very fortunate. Even though I grew up around this stuff and, you know, my father was a logger. Everybody's heard that story before. You know, I grew up around the shit. My high school and my middle school, even middle school, the last like year of middle school, you could take welding. So Like I literally like could take welding and automotive and ag mechanics and agriculture classes and everything all the way through like the end of middle school, all the way through high school. And what I've told a lot of people is, Laramie, Wyoming, is just where I graduated from. They made it mandatory that you had to take at least one either welding or woodworking. It had to take one semester of that. And then you also had to take at least one semester of automotive. So that was a requirement to graduate. So there's a lot of kids that for me, it was, I was exposed to it anyways, but there's a lot of kids that had never been exposed to anything like that before that got exposure to those type of industries through high school. And I think that's, as you know, because your high school is a perfect example of not having any of those classes, a lot of high schools are getting rid of those electives. And I think that's hurting the kids that are entering this industry, because part of Diesel Laptops thing with this is how can we get more people into the industry, right? Like people like you and me make sense. We grew up around it. Like obviously it makes sense as to why we got in there, but how can we get more kids and more people in there? And that's why I always ask people, like, did your high school have classes, like trade classes and stuff? Because I really think that's where we're fucking failing our youth. We are fucking failing our youth in high school and middle school. Like going to high schools and putting on a big speech works for like maybe 2 kids out of that entire high school. Like
2 kids that can pay attention, because I don't know, all kids hate going to school. Imagine you can go for half the day, can go work on cars or learn how to weld or make wood things. Like it'd make going to school a lot more enjoyable. So
and make it a requirement. So kids that would not ever normally pick those classes have the exposure. Like, yeah, okay, maybe don't make them take 4 fucking years of it, but expose them to at least a semester of it. Because, I've told the story a million times that there was the little emo girl in my class, little goth emo girl in my fucking welding class running welding beads. And she was straight up like tall boots, fishnet, like bright white hair, black eyeshadow, like straight up goth girl welding, running an arc welder. Do you think she would have fucking picked that class if she wasn't a requirement? Fuck no. Like, so, but she's pretty good, actually. But that's where I'm like, no, I don't think so. But but it gives her a chance, right? She would have never known that. She would have never picked that. And there was probably, for being honest, even in Laramie, Wyoming, which is a much different culture than most of the country, even in that area, there's probably only maybe 20% of the kids that went through those classes that ended up in a trade. So, but I feel like that's higher, at least that's getting exposure and getting kids into it, because, welding is really fucking fun. Before I wanted to be a mechanic, my first class I did at the end of middle school for welding, it was in Walden, Colorado, and they had us running arc welders and a acetylene torch, and those were the 2 skills we learned. And I came home after the first day that I got to weld, and I told my dad I was going to be a welder, and I stuck with that fucking plan until, I don't know, for like a year maybe. But I think it's really important to get kids exposed to that stuff, because the trades it's not just like a shit job anymore that you get paid shit money and it's just a dead-end job, right? Like, these are careers that you can make a lot of fucking money in, and you can excel and you can grow pretty rapidly, especially nowadays, because no one can find help. Which is another thing I want to talk to you about. Do you guys have, which I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to this, do you guys have a tech shortage in your shop?
it's just me. So if I wanted to bring on someone else, I could. Although finding someone is probably next to near impossible. So I guess I don't really have to deal with a tech shortage problem. But
do you have too much work? Is your workload?
Yeah, I have a heavy workload, but it's definitely seasonal too. So we run a lot harder in the summertime than we do in the winter. So I kind of get to catch up on all the stuff that I missed on during the summer and the winter, and then all over again.
So you mentioned that hiring a tech is damn near impossible. And that's if you were wanting to hire another tech. And that's the reality of this entire industry. You know, when I was first, figuring out that I was going to move to Indiana, I wasn't really sure where I was moving to. I wasn't really sure what area I was moving to. So I called around a couple dealerships in all parts of Indiana. And I had like 3 job offers sight unseen. So, like, obviously they were John Deere dealerships, right? Because that's my specialty. And it just blew my mind that they could commit to hiring or wanting to hire somebody sight unseen. But they needed people so badly that they wanted to hire immediately. And I don't know how it is in your area, but it sounds like you guys are just as bad with the tech shortages. Someone like you could probably walk into anywhere and get a job.
Oh yeah. I mean, all these, like, everywhere I go, pick up parts from, everyone has a sign, experienced techs needed at any level, it goes from, I go from North Jersey to South Jersey picking up parts sometimes. And there's signs on everyone's shop, everyone's door that they need to find techs. And they're paying good money too. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy how they can't fill the seats, but I don't know. I think there's definitely could be some improvements in the, like, work-life balance aspect of it.
I agree with that. Expand on that a little bit.
I'd like to see, I feel like a lot of these shops, you could do like a 4-day work week and
like
have it alternate. Yeah, do 410s or 412s, whatever. I think that would be a big difference. It would make a lot more people interested in being a tech, because I see, like, I don't know, a lot of the general contractors in the area, like the carpenters and the plumbers, they work like 7 to 3:30 and then they're done. But like a lot of the mechanic shops, you're there at 6:30 and you're not leaving until 6 o'clock at night sometimes. So
Yep.
There's a 12-hour day, and you can really make the same money being a carpenter or a plumber, at least in this area. So I guess people would lean to not being a tech because of the extent of the hours. Although you're getting paid for the hours, sometimes it's not really about the money, it's about having the time.
Exactly. I agree with that, because you can make killer fucking money if you're working overtime in this industry. I know techs that make well over $100,000 a year, but they have no home life. And, that's what I actually struggled with the last dealership I worked at is, I could not get into, I could get into the construction dealership that was close by, but they had some contingencies about my social media that was fucking ridiculous. So I decided to look into the ag dealerships, because I know I can work on ag equipment. I've worked on ag equipment before. It's not my specialty, but I can do it. And every single ag dealership is open almost a full day on Saturdays, if not a full day on Saturdays. And most of them are fucking mandatory Saturdays. And I found one dealership that I'm like, hey, I'm not going to do this whole every single Saturday being here till fucking 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I'm not doing that. That's fucking stupid. And so I told him, like, if you need me, you guys already have some form of a rotation going on, right? So let's make a deal here. And they told me, and they're like, all right, well, instead of working every other Saturday, you can work every third Saturday, because honestly, it's a skeleton crew anyways. There's a lot of people that don't show up anyways, so that's fine. Well, that went to shit like immediately, and I worked pretty much every single Saturday. And it's, that's something that I think is really important too. All these companies are bitching about not having mechanics. I can't find mechanics, can't find people to work for me. It's like, yeah, you're working 6-day weeks.
Yeah, no one wants to do that. Unfortunately, listen, I'm all for going out and making as much money as you can, but there's also, I got 2 dogs at home, and I want to hang out with them, turning wrenches, although it's part of my life, it's not my entire life.
Well, you work to live, right? You don't live to work. And that's something that I really think it's hard for companies, because I understand, I ran a shop, or I helped run the shop until my boss quit, and then I ran the shop for 3 months. Before that, I helped him run the shop for a year. And it was, I learned a lot, and I've understood a lot about, it's hard. As a boss and as a company, it is hard because the workload doesn't slow down just because you can't find techs. Months stacks up months. I worked at one dealership prior to that was like 4 months out of work. So if your piece of equipment needed to go into the shop, it was 4 fucking months before you could get your piece of equipment into the shop. And that shop had 20 mechanics, and they were still that far behind. So the quality of the mechanics were not that great, which is part of that problem, but that's beside the point. I learned a lot about how hard it is to balance that of like, yeah, my techs want to go home and they want to be home. I want to be home. I get it. I don't want to be here, but like, we got customers breathing down our necks, and we got a workload at that point, we were a new shop. We're trying to make a name for ourselves. We're trying to have a good reputation, and it's hard. So, it's kind of this tipping point in the industry right now where if the companies don't start doing something about the work-life balance of their technicians and kind of catering. Obviously, there's always that one guy in the shop that wants to work 80 hours a week and he never wants to be home. Fine. Let him do it. Fuck it. If he wants to do that, great. Go for it, right? I used to be that way when I was in the industry. The first 2 years I was in the industry, I got as many hours as I could on my paychecks. And if I could get over 120 hours on a paycheck, I was fucking proud of that. And if people want to do that, then fine, great. But there's going to have to be a change, right? And it's like work-life balance thing if they want to be able to drop their workload enough to not need to work their mechanics 14-hour days, they're going to need to they're going to have to stop working their mechanics 14 hours a day, because nobody wants to come to a shop and work 14 hours a day. And I think we could entice a lot more people into this industry if you're like, hey, you're working 8 or 10 hours a day. I feel like that's reasonable, right? 8, 10 hours, that's reasonable. 4 10s, even 4 12s. I would work 4 12s if we're supposed to be on overtime. Give them some options to help. If you're going to be working me like a dog and I'm going to be here for 12 hours a day, give me a 3-day weekend, right? Or fuck, most of these shops, give me a goddamn 2-day weekend that I don't have to fucking argue about.
To deal with that, but that's I don't know. I could, but I'm just saying I wouldn't choose to work 6 days a week. That's not my thing.
Even the half days, it's stupid.
Yeah, because what are you going to get done?
Oh, you don't? No one gets anything done on Saturday. No, there isn't a point.
Because you think about, all right, well, yeah, we're open on Saturdays, but you're not actually doing shit on Saturdays. So are you really even open?
Agreed. Well, and the same concept goes to, working over, I feel like anything over 10 hours a day. Most people are pretty good for 8 hours, right? Most people can work 6 to 8 hours solid. But those if you're working over 10 hours, those last couple hours or that any time after 9 or 10 hours, people are fucking useless. No one's getting shit done. Everybody is just waiting for the fucking clock to tick over so they can go the fuck home. I think shops are much more productive when they're not trying to work that much overtime, because it's the same concept as Saturdays. Ain't nobody getting anything fucking done. We've all worked in shops. Nobody fucking gets anything done. Everybody's sitting on their fucking computer at the end of the day.
Maybe
right?
We shouldn't tell everyone that, so some people can still enjoy their fucking off on Saturdays.
Well, the bosses know it, right? Because it's not the foremans that are making those rules, right? It's the people above them that have no fucking idea what's going on in the shop. So, but yeah, that was definitely a point that I like to cover, is the work-life balance needs to, because a lot of the trades don't actually have that problem. Like you were saying, it's not
7 to 3, or you have to work around whenever the homeowner's not home, and then they're home at sometimes it's even less than that. Like you have from 9 to 3 to do this job, and then the parents come home from work and school and shit, and then you got to go. So then you're done for the day. But I don't know. There definitely could be something done with the 4-day work week thing, though. I wish that would be more standard across the board. I mean, I've started to see a couple places start to offer it, like do straight 410s, but it's definitely still very uncommon.
I have fought that at every single shop I have worked at. I have fought for that, and one of the shops was really close to doing it. He was sitting down. We had like 20 mechanics, and he was sitting down. And he's like, "Yeah, I think we can make this work. We can have 410s. We can rotate as long as there's some people that are good with doing this and some people that are good with doing that." And for the most part, we did, except for we had 2 mechanics that were like, "I'm not doing that. I'm going to work my normal 5-day week, and that's it." I'm like, "Are you fucking stupid? What? Quit trying to ruin this for the rest of us. What? Why?"
But they should have just let him work. That's the thing. Like, why do you need? I don't know.
Just let him do it.
Yeah, do whatever. If you don't want to do 410s, go enjoy your 5 days.
Exactly. Yeah, go. I'm gonna have my 3-day weekend. You can be satisfied with your 2-day weekend if you want, but don't fuck it up for me, right?
Think about how shitty Mondays would be, though, having a 3-day weekend every weekend.
I mean, I think it would be great, but I don't really party, so.
After a 3-day week, no, but not even that. Just like I don't know. Monday's always.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Monday's gonna suck. It does not matter. It's Monday. The fun question that I love to ask everybody that was mechanics at least on this is, what is your favorite fuck up, and what is your biggest accomplishment?
Favorite fuck up?
We all have them.
I guess I forgot to put oil back in a truck that I did an oil change on, and I'm looking at the oil pressure gauge, waiting for it to pop up, still at 0. I'm like, oh fuck! After like a couple seconds, you're like, you finally realize, you're like, oh
yeah, it clicks. You're like,
so
fuck.
I guess, yeah, you're like, shit. and so I guess that was could have been a really bad fuck up. Luckily, I caught it in time.
It's just like any of those moments where you're like, oh my fucking God, I'm an idiot. Because we've all had as a mechanic, we've all had those, right? Where you're like, you do something, you're like, wow.
Like misdiagnose something, and you're like, then it just finally all clicks. Like once you already did the misdiagnosis, you're like, why did I even think about that? I don't know. Yeah. But maybe accomplishment wise, I'd like to say that I've never, in 4 years, I've had a truck towed twice. So out of 35 trucks on the road, 7 days a week, I've only had a truck towed twice. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I've take a lot of pride in my fleet, trying to make it look as great as I can and perform as great as it can. So unfortunately, I'm not blessed with all brand new equipment. So I'm taking care of trucks ranging from like 2011 all the way to 2020, or 2022. But it's a lot of work, but it's definitely rewarding.
I agree. I had a young lady on here she's kind of like my mentor. She was like actually the last episode I just aired. And that's something that we talked about, was quality of work and how important that is, and taking pride in what you do is important. Like, I'm always the motherfucker that will spend an extra 3 hours on an engine job painting it, making it look pretty. So I think, even if it's just a rebuild, or, honestly, let's be honest, most of them are long blocks nowadays, not rebuilds. And even if, whatever the case may be, the customer is getting a long block, short block, rebuild, complete engine, which is usually painted, but whatever, same concept. Make it look like they spent that money. They're spending well over $20,000. Make it look like they spent over $20,000, and that's always been a big thing to me. Is if I had my engine rebuilt, even though it's an ancient fucking pickup truck, right? If I took it to Cummins and I had him rebuilt it, I'd expect that motherfucker to be beautiful. So,
unfortunately, Cummins Red was on back order or it's called Apex Red. That was on back order for a very long time, and I just got a can of it 2 days ago. So I just did a long block in one of our trucks, and like you said, you want to paint everything, make it look nice, and I couldn't even get the paint to make it look nice.
That's maddening. I hate putting shit on. Like, I'll paint water pumps. Like some of John Deere's water pumps come black instead of like green or yellow because it could be for both, right? So they just send it black, and then I cannot stand people that bullshit on like that and don't paint it. Or like vibration dampers, like water pumps, anything. I have to paint it. I have an OCD thing and I have to fucking paint it. It's gotta be fucking green or yellow. It's gotta fucking match. It might be the only shiny thing on that engine, but it's gonna be at least yellow, right? I'm anal about stuff like that. It's gotta be painted. It's gotta be pretty. So take pride in your work. Your boss and your customers will appreciate it.
But a little bit of paint goes a long way.
Exactly. It's cheap too. It's a cheap thing to do that makes it look so much better. But I don't know. I've never understood why people don't paint their stuff. But
or wipe your another thing, like you're talking quality work. Wipe your greasy fingerprints off the side of a truck. Like
yep. I am guilty of that. I am guilty of that. Yep. Well, yeah, I've sat with a power washer with a piece of equipment for like an hour trying to spray fucking nasty ass greasy oil. Black diesel oil that's been like not changed in the right amount of time, so it's like stains, right? That is such a pain in the ass to get off of everything. But
especially if like the paint has a little bit of fade to it, so it doesn't have the clear to like protect it.
Yeah,
seeps in and shit. No good.
That is part of the reason why I liked equipment better than semis, because I worked on semis for a brief time, and at least equipment, it lives in the dirt. So if it is not perfect leaving that shop, no one's gonna fucking notice. So as far as like, dirt or like getting like mud on the floor or whatever, which we usually detailed our equipment before it left anyways, but still, I remember a man that brought his Lone Star International into the shop one time when I worked on semis, and that motherfucker had hardwood flooring in a fucking semi. I'm like, okay, this is not my area of expertise. This is not a great fit.
It does look pretty good though. I have a couple of our, two of our trucks have that. I used like linoleum floor, like the interlock wood boards from Home Depot, and took the seats out and just lined the floor with it. It ends up looking pretty cool, but
if there's something I gotta take my fucking shoes off to work on, it's probably not something Melissa should be touching.
You got two pairs of shoes. You got outside shoes and you got inside shoes. I mean, people drive with slippers on, but then they wear work boots outside. I don't know.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, more power to him for having a nice truck, I guess. But Jesus Christ, it's a truck. But that's why I am in equipment. So yeah. And you get to dig holes and like fuck shit up, and like you have a work pile that you can just dig holes in and attempt to, run a grader, which ends up looking more like a motocross track when you're done with it than a fine grading job. But it's fun. I cannot grade for shit. I can. Oh, I can. If I can use the float function, I'm golden. I mean, not golden. It still kind of looks like shit, but it's better than if I got to sit there and actually run the controls. It's gonna look like a fucking motocross track.
Bouncing all over the place, and you'll get more jobs doing truck suspensions after that shit.
Yep. Now dozers and excavators, I can run the shit out of those, because dozers you just put the blade in and you just fucking push shit around, and excavators you just dig a giant hole and then you fill it back in. I got that shit. Excavators especially, I can run the fuck out of an excavator. Graders, on the other hand, are a little bit of a challenge. I like machines that you can put on full RPM and run it like that. I don't like loaders I don't like running loaders with the gas pedal, because you bounce around and it fucking bounces the gas pedal and it's just annoying. And it's not idled up all the way, so if you scoop a big giant bucket of dirt, and you're trying to lift it up or you're trying to scoop dirt, you have to sit there and push the clutch disconnect and then rev it up and then move the bucket at the same time. That is way too much shit going on at once for me. So I just like excavators where I can just turn it up all the way and run it like that. All right. It's fun. It's really fun. Especially when you figure out how to do like the zero turn where you can put the bucket on the ground and pick up one side and then you can do this fancy spin thing. It makes you feel like a badass. Yeah, it's really easy, but it makes you feel like a badass. And everybody that has no idea what you're doing thinks you're cool. So